Hi, I'm Kevin Harrington, an original shark from Shark Tank. Ultimate Bundles connects you with the best teachers online.
So today I've got herbs that are going to help and be pretty versatile to support people during or after stress, to be able to respond better in the moment, to be able to help your body recover from any kind of damages or challenges of that afterwards, and as well as things that can help promote energy, but not necessarily in the sort of overtly stimulating way. These are things that kind of support you rather than like borrow from your future energy reserves, or don't like draw down your future energy bank account, so to speak. They really help the body function in a healthy way. A couple terms are here on this slide. So nervines, adaptogens, and tonics. Nervines are a term that we use to categorize herbs that are either typically that affect the nervous system directly and immediately. And these can be energizing or stimulant, or they can be more relaxant and sedative. The really great nervines have kind of a nice combination of both. Sometimes it's first just a bit energizing or stimulating or focusing to the mind, and then can have a little bit of a relaxant effect as well. In the olden days, like let's say 100 or 200 years ago, we would have seen more things that were stimulants come to the surface for nervines that we talk about. Nowadays, at least in Western herbalism, mostly when we say nervine, we're sort of we're interested in things that help people manage stress and feel more calm. And I think that's just part of, sort of a side effect of everybody being pretty keyed up and needing some help to stay grounded, right? So those are nervines, directly acting on the nervous system. And work pretty quick, actually, like sometimes immediately. Then we have adaptogens. So an adaptogen, and these all overlap a bit. An adaptogenic herb, you might notice an effect immediately, but these are things, and you definitely see nervous system support with adaptogens. There's another layer of sort of complexity and sort of holistic support here, and that the adaptogens are sort of characterized as helping the nervous system and the endocrine system, so our hormones and basically organs that sort of release and are affected by those hormones. Adaptogens have this really interesting, great quality of helping those two systems communicate better at the various points, so many points that those feedback loops and communication occur. So adaptogens, for example, can help somebody to be able to get more focused and sharp and clear, like in the moment when they need to. But then we'll see the effects of things like cortisol, a stress hormone, which has definite functions to help us do that. We'll see that adaptogens can actually help your body then recuperate back to normal baseline level sooner. And this is just one example, but most of the adaptogens do this. You're able to function, but then your body isn't, feeling jittery or having elevated, perhaps blood pressure or blood sugar for a really long time after that, maybe 2-second task that you needed to respond to. Adaptogens also can help with hormonal balance. Tonics can overlap with this as well. But when we talk about tonics, if we're getting technical, these are things that really, really support function in a way, and perhaps not just in the moment. So these may additionally be really nutritive, and sometimes also are characterized as supporting a specific system, which could be the mind, it could be reproductive hormones, but it could also be like a cardiovascular tonic, something that just basically, feeds and helps support the cardiovascular system from many angles. And typically, these three categories, not always with nervines, but for adaptogens and tonics, we're talking about things that are generally going to be safe. We have first sage. I'm talking about Salvia officinalis, the common garden sage. And this is great for this time of year because really almost no matter what climate you're in, you could probably find a bit. If you have a garden, you can access and politely ask if you can sample some, because it lasts even after the first few frosts. You can use this at this time of year and it's still really like resilient and fresh and aromatic, You can harvest it, and actually, even though with most herbs I try to process them immediately, with sage it really kind of holds on to its nice aromatic quality for a bit, like for a few days or more. Well, really more than that, but it seems fresh even after several days. So sage has a really great reputation for memory across many cultures. And the way that we find that it affects our mood and everything is that it can be somewhat mood lifting, can be supportive to like alertness, and there are actually studies that show that it helps with things like just word recall and attention, whether in young adults or kids or older adults, are really a range of studies there. It's great in that it can help. I think all of us want to have better cognitive function, mood, etc. If we want to get more specific, it's said to be GABAergic, and that's really interesting because we know that GABA is a neurotransmitter that is characterized with promoting calm and lowering anxiety, and can actually help people sort of function and be more cognitively clear because they're not clouded by that anxiety. And we know that it's also cholinergic, which is pretty amazing because this is choline and acetylcholine are really associated with learning and memory. So it goes right with the traditional uses. It's a really great herb for someone who is in menopause and is experiencing some of the things that we've mentioned already. It's energetically cooling. It's mildly estrogenic. It doesn't contain estrogen, but it's going to sort of gently exert an influence on some of the estrogen receptors so that when your body starts to make less estrogen during a life change, it kind of buffers some of the experiences, some of that are sometimes not as easy or conducive to like work and life and focus and sleep. So it's a great sleep herb or daytime herb for someone who's going through menopause. Amazingly, it seems to in the daytime kind of help keep us alert and on task. At night, it can kind of help promote a little bit of quieting and rest. The next one I have on the slide is Tulsi. This is also called holy basil, and really there are a whole number of names for it. This is an herb that is used in many cultures, particularly, or I'd say mostly Asian, but we know, a lot of Western use is informed from Ayurveda. And it is in many places, and particularly in India and in Hindu culture, really like a household item that's used almost as kind of a panacea, as well as a just, culinary and sort of staple, delightful, but kind of staple food, and I'm going to venture and say remedy. It's a bit like sage. It's very aromatic. We call it uplifting, but also somewhat grounding. Some use it to help promote sleep. I find it to be a little bit more of an upper type of influence, a little bit more like kind of like green tea without the caffeine. But it's yet another one that has sort of like hones you in, helps you focus. It definitely has been shown to promote memory, positive mood, focus, better performance in cognitive tasks, etc. We do seem to know that the aromatics are a big part of this, the activity of this herb. You can also use it in taking a tea or using a syrup or other type of preparation. Luckily, you do get some of the good aromatic benefit. We definitely call it an adaptogen. This one definitely has that quality of helping someone to return back to kind of normal homeostasis or baseline like stress hormone levels after a stressful event. It really is sweet and fruity. It's actually kind of got like a bubblegum or like fruity flavor. And so it's one that's used as a culinary tea, and you can share it with friends, relatives, household members. All the herbs, especially if we're talking about above ground parts, have flavonoids, which have antioxidant qualities, which we know are health protectant. But this particular herb is one of those kind of mega antioxidant foods and herbs. It's got some unique flavonoids and is really rich in flavonoids. So that's another thing to note. The next one I have is ashwagandha. And this is in the Solanaceae family, which might conjure up some questions. It did yesterday. The Latin name is Withania somnifera. And that somnifera part alludes to sleep. Traditional uses include supporting sleep, not like an overt sedative though. In fact, many are going to use this during the day or get into kind of a routine of using it daily. and it can help sort of promote stamina and energy through the day and recovery from stress, certainly. For even just short periods of time, it can help to restore circadian rhythms. It can help to balance cortisol. It can help get somebody back into a little bit better timing and pattern of cortisol. We also see with this herb that it's said to increase the availability of dopamine. Traditionally, it's put into it's mixed in with milk, either in the traditional like dairy sense or plant milks. And the fat in those substances and those foods helps absorption of some of the kind of more hormonal like constituents. So these are things that are not the same as the hormones our body makes, but have a little bit of a resemblance and can kind of help the body kind of start to pay more attention to certain hormonal pathways and kind of like correct or smooth out different types of patterns and actions. We have Siberian ginseng as our next plant. For this one as well, typically the root is used, although the leaf is sometimes used. The root is kind of where the potency is. And this one, Siberian ginseng, we tend to call eleuthero more. Also an adaptogen, definitely. The standout thing about this, if Tulsi was the one that tastes the most pleasant, then eleuthero is the one that really is the most versatile adaptogen. Meaning I don't really see it go in sort of the wrong direction with anyone or hardly ever have side effects. It's one that does have some of those great like hormonal balancing effects. It has some cardiovascular tonic effects, immune modulating, and it's not said to be especially like heating or cooling or stimulant or sedative. So it works if you've learned constitutions, sort of our energetic affect as well as physical kind of tendencies. It sort of can be work for anyone. So if I don't get the benefit of knowing too much about a person, or sometimes like in a first meeting with a client, if there's a lot going on, this is where I'll start with them. So that's part of why it's included here. A lot to say about it, but I'd say my favorite vignette about eleuthero is the studies with nurses. So eleuthero supplements have been used in clinical studies with night shift nurses in, perhaps emergency departments, or basically it's, grueling shift work in nurses. So nurses are a great subject group because they take the medication or the supplement in a compliant or they follow the protocol. But they're also under tons of stress, often sleep deprivation. Eleuthero supplementation in some of these clinical studies have shown, better memory, better recall, better mood, actually things like better blood sugar balance, cortisol levels. Some of the studies were even about weight gain related to just the amount of stress, as well as, meals or snacks at unusual times just to keep energy up. So really lots of great studies just showing how eleuthero supports us when we need support the most. Athletes love it too. I'll leave that there for time. You can find out a lot if you're an athlete about eleuthero and support. The next one is shatavari, or some say shatavari, both absolutely correct. And this one is actually a relative of asparagus, but the root is the part used, and it's yet another adaptogen. It's yet another one that we're very much informed from Ayurveda in its use. And in Western herbalism, it often gets sort of labeled as like a women's herb, but there certainly are many uses for men's health as well. So this one has a little bit more of that hormonal tonic quality to it. It's also like a really great friend to women in the menopausal years because it's somewhat phytoestrogenic. So it's not going to be the best match for every person or every woman, but certainly in the menopausal years, or if in a sort of imbalance where you could use a little bit more of the influence of estrogen. it can be great. It's also really great for the sort of like deficient, wired, and tired. If you know Ayurvedic constitutions, it's a great Vata herb. It's a great like builder. If someone's like very thin, frazzled, thin build, thin nerves, etc. It has a bit of immune enhancing qualities as well, but really we love this one for supporting stress, especially when there's sort of a hormonal imbalance picture going on, either because of the stress or it's causing a less healthy productive response to those stressors.